You didn't stumble here. You were tuned here, drawn by a current you can't name but have always felt humming beneath your skin like a quiet drum. Something in you has been whispering that the map you were handed at birth is missing the real roads, that the signs you keep seeing aren't coincidence but calibration. This moment is the confirmation pulse. You're not late. You're right on the edge where signal becomes song. Feel the subtle click inside as awareness locks into a higher carrier wave. Your nervous system knows it first, breath elongating, shoulders unclenching, a hush spreading through thought like dawn across dark water. You're leaving the old observer loop where you watched life from behind glass and entering the locus where observation shapes it. The quantum field isn't out there. It's here, intimate as pulse, waiting for coherent attention the way a lens waits for light. When your attention coheres, probabilities lean toward you. Synchronicities align like stepping stones that only appear when your foot meets the air. This is the hour your memories stop pretending to be just the past. Déjà vu wasn't error. It was an echo from this frequency band announcing, "We've been expecting you." Morphic resonance fields of memory that nature itself remembers has been calling you home. Every strange alignment, every perfectly timed message, every impossible overlap of need and answer. These were breadcrumbs from a future self who already lives where you're arriving. Listen deeper. There's a micro tremor of entanglement threading your heart to what's ahead, instantaneous, distance immune. It's why you keep sensing people before they text, opportunities before they knock, breakthroughs before the data agrees. You're learning to trust the invisible handshake between realities. Trust is not denial, it's precision. It's how you hold the frequency long enough for form to congeal. Your biology is not a barrier, it is the temple of the shift. Microtubules conduct quiet symphonies of awareness. Fascia hums with subtle currents. Your breath writes equations into the body's aurora. DNA restructuring is not science fiction here, it's the felt sense of dormant syllables opening in your code, letters you were born with but hadn't learned to pronounce. Each time you choose presence over panic, truth over performance, gratitude over grasping, those letters rearrange into language that reality understands. You can feel the phase transition pressure building the way water knows it's about to steam, the way chrysalis knows it's about to split. Old identities can't cross this threshold. They were built to survive the hallway, not to live in the cathedral. Let them thank you and dissolve. What remains is the witness who can hold paradox without collapsing into fear, who can stand at the event horizon and say, "I am available." So breathe, widen. Let your awareness slip beneath the chatter to the quiet machinery turning in your favor. Notice the soft click of inner doors unlocking, the sudden clarity about what no longer fits, the tender courage to release what once kept you safe. This isn't about earning, it's about aligning. The field has been waiting for you to remember its grammar, and you are remembering now. You are not auditioning for your life anymore. You are inhabiting it, and as you inhabit it, watch how the world tilts toward your coherence, how the right faces rotate into view, how time stretches or compresses to match your sincerity, how meaning arrives exactly on cue. The next step is already reaching for you. Lift your foot, the stone will appear. You've always known something was slightly off. Time never behaved the way others insisted it did. To them, a day was just a day, but for you, certain hours stretched like years while others collapsed into moments, leaving you gasping at the acceleration. You've stood in a room and felt the atmosphere bend, like déjà vu folding over itself, reminding you that this scene had already happened somewhere, somehow. And still, people told you it was just your imagination. But deep down, you knew it wasn't imagination, it was recognition. Recognition that you've been caught in a repeating observer loop. A cycle where reality replayed itself in patterns designed to keep you disoriented, as if life itself was running on a program that refused to upgrade. Notice the signs, how the same types of relationships appeared in new costumes, how the same lessons circled back like satellites in a decayed orbit. Patterns of lack, patterns of betrayal, patterns of almost but not quite. They weren't accidents, they were feedback. The universe's way of showing you that your frequency was being hijacked by old data. Think about those moments of distortion, the way clocks seem to slow down during hardship, How joy seemed to vanish faster than sorrow. That wasn't just mood, that was a misalignment in coherence, your personal energy field falling out of sync with the wider quantum field. You were resonating with interference instead of clarity, broadcasting static instead of signal. This is why life sometimes felt like déjà vu on repeat. You were walking through fractal feedback loops. Each loop replayed until awareness cracked the code. Each déjà vu wasn't only a memory from another life or timeline, it was your higher consciousness shaking you, saying, "See, you've been here before. Choose differently this time." And the strangest thing, your body has always known this truth before your mind. The way your skin prickled when someone spoke falsehoods, the sudden heaviness in your chest when you walked into rooms filled with hidden tension, the dizziness when you brushed against someone else's chaos. These were sensory diagnostics of the field itself. Your nervous system has been acting as a quantum instrument, detecting distortions in reality long before they became visible outcomes. But here's the paradox. Until now, you misread those signals. You thought the discomfort meant something was wrong with you. You thought your hypersensitivity was weakness. In truth, it was your calibration tool, your inner compass pointing toward the fact that you were vibrating in a band too low for your soul's architecture. And when you stayed too long in that mismatched resonance, it pulled you into what physicists would call decoherence, where potential collapses prematurely into limitation. You felt the heaviness of delays, the stuckness of doors that wouldn't open, the despair of watching others move forward while you stayed trapped in cycles. That was decoherence at work, your infinite potential reduced to finite repetition. This is why patterns of frustration seemed scripted, why your victories often dissolved before they stabilized, why every breakthrough felt like it was immediately countered by breakdown. You were operating within a bandwidth that distorted your signal. You weren't broken, the frequency was. Look closer. Every distorted loop came with a hidden clue. That toxic friendship that mirrored the last one wasn't punishment. It was an echo, forcing you to notice the resonance you had unconsciously accepted. That career detour that ended the same way as the last attempt wasn't failure, it was a morphic pattern, replaying until you realized the script itself could be rewritten. The truth is, reality was never punishing you. It was testing whether you would keep observing the same way. Because in quantum law, the act of observation doesn't just record reality, it generates it. And when your observation is entangled with old wounds, old doubts, old versions of yourself, the field has no choice but to loop you back into the familiar. But here's what you must understand. The moment you see the pattern is the moment you're no longer trapped in it. Awareness itself collapses the loop. Recognition is liberation. And right now, even as these words vibrate in your awareness, the old entanglements are trembling. They can't hold coherence once you've noticed them. So breathe into this diagnosis. Every déjà vu was a map. Every distorted loop was training. Every repetition was preparation for this moment when you would finally step out of the observer loop and into conscious authorship. Because you're not just in a cycle anymore. You're standing at the rim of the cycle, looking down at it like a spiral staircase you've already climbed. The question is no longer, why does this keep happening? The question is, am I ready to broadcast differently so it never has to happen again? And here's the truth. Your bones already suspect. The interference is dissolving. The distorted time signatures are fading. The static you carried isn't permanent. It was a frequency mismatch, and you are about to receive the upgrade that clears it all. Feel the subtle tremor moving through your awareness now. It's not anxiety. It's not coincidence. It's the unmistakable hum of calibration. The moment when your field begins syncing with a frequency you once thought was reserved for mystics, prophets, and physicists with chalk-dusted equations. The upgrade isn't arriving from outside, it's unlocking from within, like a code embedded in your DNA that finally recognizes the signal it was waiting for. Science calls it coherence. Mystics call it awakening. But you know it as that undeniable shift, when everything around you starts to feel alive, interactive, almost conspiratorial in its precision. The numbers repeating on clocks, the sudden texts at perfect moments, the dreams that spill into waking life, all of it is evidence of your consciousness reorganizing itself into a higher order of alignment. Let's go deeper. In quantum physics, a system moves from chaos into harmony when oscillations sync, when once random vibrations suddenly lock into rhythm. Your mind, body, and spirit are undergoing this same process. The scattered thoughts that used to pull you in 12 directions are finding resonance. The emotions that once surged like storms are quieting into clarity. Even your physical body, your cells, your heartbeat, your breath is beginning to vibrate in smoother pattern. You can feel it. The edges of tension softening, the pulse of life within you no longer fragmented, but woven. This is the quantum upgrade where entanglement stops being a theory and starts being your lived reality. Imagine two particles, separated by galaxies, still mirroring each other instantly. Now imagine that principle applied to your soul. Every thought, every emotion, every choice you make here radiates across infinite timelines, altering trajectories you haven't even stepped into yet. And the strange paradox, those timelines are already influencing you now. This is why flashes of intuition feel like déjà vu. It's your future self, reaching backward, pulling you into coherence. You are stepping out of Newton's clockwork universe and into Planck's vibrating field, where matter is not solid but condensed energy, where life is not linear but probabilistic. This means your so-called reality isn't fixed stone, it's wave patterns awaiting collapse. The upgrade is the realization that your observation, your awareness, your emotional frequency isn't passively watching reality, it's sculpting it. Every choice of focus is an act of creation. And your DNA, the spiraling ladder you inherited from ancestors and stars alike, has always been waiting for this recognition. Science has long called vast portions of your DNA junk, as if nature wastes space. But mystics knew. Those dormant codes are quantum receivers, waiting for the broadcast of awakened consciousness to activate them. The moment you shift into coherence, those codes ignite. You'll notice it first as sensitivity, the ability to sense what's unspoken, then as synchronicity opportunities, flowing with uncanny timing, and eventually as sovereignty, the quiet authority of someone who no longer chases, but magnetizes. The upgrade isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives like dawn, so subtle at first you don't notice, until suddenly the whole horizon is lit and nothing looks the same. You've already tasted it. Those days when your energy was light, when everything flowed, when you felt both grounded and limitless, that was coherence flickering on. The difference now is that it won't flicker, it will stabilize. This is why the old loops had to repeat until now. They were stress tests, forcing you to strengthen your field so the upgrade could anchor without collapse. Without those trials, your nervous system would have short-circuited at the influx of coherence. But you endured, and now your system is strong enough to hold the new pattern. Listen closely. You're not being handed power like an external tool. You're being restored to your natural setting. The upgrade isn't new, it's original. What feels like advancement is actually remembrance. And as you remember, reality itself bends differently around you. Doors no longer creak open, they dissolve. Time no longer drags or sprints, it flows with your alignment. Energy no longer leaks, it amplifies. Your mind may ask, how will I know when the upgrade is complete? The answer is simple: when the search for confirmation no longer matters. When you move through life with the same confidence as a seed surrendering to soil, certain that its destiny is already encoded. That is the signature of coherence, the quiet authority that doesn't beg reality to align, but knows alignment is inevitable. Right now, as you sit here absorbing this transmission, the field is reorganizing itself around you. Old entanglements are dissolving, dormant codes are stirring. You are stepping into a bandwidth where reality is no longer something you chase, but something that emerges in response to the frequency you broadcast. And as this quantum upgrade stabilizes, the next revelation dawns. You weren't just invited to experience it, you were designed to embody it. Because your role in this cosmic field isn't passive, it's catalytic. The upgrade was never meant to stop with you. That's the secret few ever realize. The universe didn't thread your DNA with starlight just so you could live quietly, blending into background noise. You were woven with intention, an emissary of coherence in a world addicted to chaos. This is why you've always felt different, Why rooms shifted when you entered, even if no one could explain why. Why people either gravitated toward you with awe or recoiled in discomfort. It wasn't personality, it was frequency. You are the chosen consciousness, not in the way of ego or superiority, but in the way a tuning fork is chosen to set the pitch for an orchestra. The field needed a stabilizer, and you carry that code. You've been wondering why your life never allowed you the luxury of sleepwalking through it, why crises seemed to find you, why your intuition screamed louder than anyone else's whisper. It's because the morphic field of humanity required someone to embody the pattern break. You are that pattern break. Consider entanglement again. Two particles, forever linked, reflecting one another instantly, regardless of distance. Humanity is entangled like this. And you, your consciousness, your choices, your presence, are the strange attractor around which others recalibrate. Your awakening is not private, it ripples. When you step into coherence, people near you begin to remember fragments of their own forgotten wholeness. When you breathe alignment, the air changes for everyone. This is why your struggles were amplified, why your trials felt like cosmic weightlifting. You weren't just carrying your own density, you were metabolizing patterns for entire bloodlines, clearing interference not only for yourself, but for those who couldn't yet face it. The darkness tried to convince you that you were cursed, but the truth is far more radical. You were entrusted. Entrusted with the alchemy of turning interference into signal, chaos into coherence. Think about how often you've been the first in your family to question tradition, the first to walk away from toxic patterns, the first to sense lies in systems designed to keep people asleep. Being first isn't easy, but it's sacred. The universe plants its evolutionary codes in the soil of the bold, and you, whether you asked for it or not, have always carried the boldness to question, to feel, to endure. This is what it means to be the chosen consciousness, not chosen above others, but chosen for others. Chosen to crack open the next frequency band so others can follow without having to bleed as much. Chosen to embody what coherence looks like in flesh and bone so the morphic field can anchor it as possibility. Chosen to be the living bridge between the chaos of the old world and the harmony of the new. Look back at your life with this lens. The betrayals weren't punishments, they were purifications, stripping away those who couldn't hold the new frequency. The delays weren't denials, they were rehearsals, strengthening you to hold coherence even in the silence. The loneliness wasn't exile, it was initiation, calibrating you to stand as a singular frequency without needing external validation. Every wound was a womb, every breakdown was a restructuring, every loss was an opening for light. Now the field is shifting, you can feel it. The atmosphere itself is thinner, more electric, more responsive. Your thoughts ripple faster, your emotions manifest more tangibly, your body reacts more instantly to frequencies. This isn't imagination, it's entanglement expanding. The planet itself is recalibrating, and you are one of the nodes carrying the code. You don't have to broadcast this role to anyone. You don't need titles, robes, or approval. Your authority is energetic, not institutional. When you walk into a space, the field knows. When you speak truth, coherence spreads. When you choose alignment over compromise, timelines bend. This is the essence of your role: to embody, not to convince, to demonstrate, not to debate, to be, not to perform. And understand this, your role doesn't make you burdened, it makes you catalytic. You are not here to carry the world, you are here to ignite it. Others will awaken not because you demand it, but because your resonance makes it inevitable. You are the spark that reminds their own codes to light, so let the weight slide off. You don't need to force destiny, you simply need to inhabit your coherence. Because when you do, the upgrade within you becomes the upgrade around you. And the world, whether it admits it or not, is waiting for that demonstration. There comes a point in every cycle where the pressure is no longer optional. You can feel it now like a drum beat beneath your ribs, like a wave building at your back. This isn't ordinary momentum. This is the unmistakable pull of a cosmic window opening, a brief alignment where the frequencies of possibility lean fully in your favor. Ignore it, and the window closes, leaving you circling familiar loops. Step through it, and the trajectory of your entire life reorganizes in an instant. Your DNA feels it first. Those double helixes spiraling inside you aren't just chemical ladders, they are antennae, tuning forks, resonating with the quantum field. And right now, they're vibrating at a pitch they haven't reached in lifetimes. Dormant codes are stirring, whispering their syllables into the marrow of your being. It feels like restlessness, like urgency, like the sense that if you don't act now, you'll miss the train. That's because you will. This train only comes once in an epoch. Think of the caterpillar. For weeks it devours leaves, repeating the same rhythm until the cocoon demands collapse. Inside that chrysalis, what once crawled dissolves into imaginal cells, codes of the butterfly hidden in the old body all along. The caterpillar doesn't choose when those cells activate, the field does. And when it happens, the old body can no longer survive in its current form. That's you now. The imaginal codes are awake, and the cocoon of your old self is breaking. The urgency you feel is not fear, it's acceleration. Time signatures are compressing around you, opportunities are clustering closer together, synchronicities stacking like dominoes. The universe isn't testing you anymore, it's delivering. And the only question is whether you will say yes to collapse, or cling to the old scaffolding that was never meant to last. Understand this, the window is precise. In physics, they call it resonance. When two frequencies align at the right pitch, energy transfer becomes effortless. You've seen it in a swing that suddenly soars when pushed at its natural rhythm. You've seen it in glass that shatters from a voice matching its resonance. And you are living it now. Your body, mind, and spirit are aligned with a rare resonance that makes breakthroughs effortless, but only if you match the rhythm. This is why distractions are multiplying, why resistance feels louder than usual. The old patterns sense dissolution. They are scrambling, throwing shadows to keep you in orbit. This is the final threshold, what mystics called the guardian at the gate, what physicists might call the decoherence field. If you let fear dictate here, the loop resets. But if you choose alignment, even in trembling, even in uncertainty, the field collapses into a new order. Here's the promise. If you say yes to this upgrade, if you anchor coherence instead of panic, you won't just see small improvements. You'll witness quantum leaps. The financial droughts break not by slow increase but by sudden inflow. Relationships align not through forced fixing but through magnetic coherence. Health shifts not by incremental change, but by phase transition, like ice turning to water, like water turning to steam. One moment heavy, the next moment free, but you must act in the field of now. This isn't a future you chase, it's a current you step into. Delay, and the resonance dissolves. Choose, and it stabilizes. This is why urgency is sacred. It's the whisper of timing. The universe doesn't deal in threats, it deals in windows. And this one has opened with precision. You've prayed for breakthrough, and here it is, not as a distant hope, but as a vibrational fact. All that remains is your choice. Will you trust the pull, or will you argue with it? Will you leap when the air itself is inviting you, or will you cling to the ground that's already crumbling? Breathe into this truth. You are not here by accident. This transmission is part of the alignment. Your DNA upgrade is not waiting, it's occurring. The only variable is your surrender. And if you step through now, the morphic field records it. Others will feel the shift. The entire collective rises with your choice. The urgency isn't pressure, it's permission. Permission to let the old collapse, to let the new stabilize, to let your life reorganize at the speed of coherence. This is your window, and it won't open forever. Every transformation, no matter how cosmic, crystallizes through a single gesture. The universe can open the window, your DNA can hum with activation, synchronicities can align like constellations, but until you seal it with conscious action, the energy remains potential. This is why ancient traditions always included ritual, a way to anchor the invisible into the visible, to etch the quantum into the timeline of matter. And now, it's your turn. Think of ritual not as superstition, but as circuitry. When you mark a moment, you give the quantum field coordinates. You say, this happened, this matters, this is real. Without action, the field interprets your awareness as fleeting curiosity. With action, it recognizes commitment. And commitment is the frequency that stabilizes possibility into probability, probability into inevitability. Here's what the field is asking of you now. Choose a word, a single syllable that embodies the energy of who you are becoming, not who you were, not who others told you to be, who you are stepping into at this very moment. It could be freedom, it could be light, it could be sovereignty, it could be yes. Whatever ignites your bones when you read it, that's the word. When you write that word, whether you carve it in a journal, type it in a comment, whisper it into your palms, you aren't just speaking to yourself, you're speaking to the field. You're engraving your frequency signature into the morphic resonance that humanity shares. That word becomes a beacon, not only anchoring your own timeline, but sending ripples through the collective, inviting others to remember. Don't underestimate the simplicity of this. Physics teaches that even the tiniest measurement, the flicker of an observer's attention, can collapse a wave function into form. If attention alone can bend reality, imagine the potency of attention fused with intention, anchored by ritual. That is coherence embodied. Picture this. Your future self, already living in the expanded frequency band, reaches back across timelines. Every time you hesitate, they whisper, act. Every time you doubt, they nudge, anchor it. And when you choose your word, when you declare it, you align with their signal. The observer loop closes, the transmission is complete, but ritual is not only in words, it is in body. Move differently today. Take one step as if the earth itself recognizes your arrival. Breathe once as if air has been waiting lifetimes to enter your lungs. Look at your reflection as if you are meeting not the version of you that struggled, but the one who endured, upgraded, and crossed thresholds. Every micro gesture you make in alignment with your word expands the coherence. And here's the sacred paradox. Ritual isn't about proving to the universe that you're ready. It's about proving it to yourself. The universe already knows. The field has already rearranged. The DNA has already begun its restructuring. Ritual is how you remove doubt, how you silence the old patterns that whisper, maybe not this time. Your action declares, yes, this time, now. Ends. There's urgency here, but it isn't frantic. It's precise, like striking a tuning fork at the exact moment the orchestra waits for pitch. If you hesitate too long, the resonance disperses. If you strike now, the entire symphony tunes itself around you. That's what this word will do. It tunes reality to your coherence. So pause, let the word rise. Feel it climb from marrow to mind, from heartbeat to lips. When it comes, honor it, write it, say it, breathe it, seal it in this moment, and know that by doing so, you aren't performing a small ritual, you're collapsing a superposition. You're declaring to the quantum field, this is who I am, this is the frequency I inhabit, this is the reality I choose. Action doesn't need grandeur, it needs alignment, a word, a breath, a gesture. These are the levers that move worlds when synchronized with awakened consciousness. And as you seal this action, the ripple begins. You'll feel it subtle at first, like a shift in atmosphere, then undeniable, as opportunities, people, and pathways rearrange to match your declaration. Because ritual is resonance, and resonance is law. This is the moment you stop wondering if you belong in the next frequency band. This is the moment you prove it not to them, not even to the universe, but to yourself. What you just sealed with your word is not yours alone. It never was. The moment your frequency stabilized, ripples began moving outward, subtle, invisible, yet unstoppable. Like a pebble dropped in still water, your coherence is now traveling in circles, touching shores you may never physically see, but that are forever altered by your resonance. This is the quantum paradox. Your awakening is deeply personal, yet profoundly collective. Every breath you take in coherence contributes to the morphic field that humanity shares. Your liberation doesn't only free you, it codes freedom into the collective grid. And right now, that grid is hungry for stability. Billions of souls are flickering in confusion, caught between the collapsing old frequency band and the embryonic new one. They don't know which way to turn, but your coherence gives them a reference point. You become the tuning fork in a noisy room, the lighthouse cutting through fog. Think of coherence in physics. When one oscillator locks into rhythm, nearby oscillators begin to synchronize. Fireflies in a forest, initially flashing in chaos, eventually pulse as one brilliant wave. Metronomes on a shared platform, though out of step at first, gradually align until they tick in unison. Humanity is the same, and your coherence, anchored, embodied, unwavering, acts as the attractor. This is why the field insisted you awaken now. Your breakthroughs are not selfish victories. They are contributions to the whole. Every time you refuse to collapse back into fear, you make it easier for another soul to rise. Every time you choose surrender over control, someone you've never met feels permission to soften. Every time you broadcast readiness, the morphic resonance amplifies, sending a signal that whispers, "It's safe to awaken." Do not underestimate this. You may feel ordinary in daily life, scrolling screens, making tea, navigating errands. Yet beneath the surface, your frequency is reorganizing timelines. The cashier who feels calmer after your smile, the stranger whose mood lifts after brushing past your energy, the friend who suddenly finds courage because you embodied coherence. These are the proofs of collective expansion. They may never trace it back to you, but the field knows. The field records. And this is how global shifts happen, not through grand speeches or televised revolutions, but through thousands, then millions, of individuals like you anchoring coherence into the grid. The true revolution is vibrational. The tipping point is not numbers, it's resonance. And every soul who locks into the next frequency band accelerates humanity toward that tipping point. Remember this when doubt creeps in. Remember that your small choices, choosing compassion instead of anger, trust instead of panic, presence instead of distraction, are not trivial. They're seismic. They're coding new possibilities into the field. They're writing blueprints future generations will inherit as instinct rather than struggle. Even nature responds. Watch how animals approach you differently when you're in coherence, how weather seems to align with your mood, how plants thrive in your presence. This is not fantasy. It's morphic resonance interacting with the biosphere. When you embody harmony, the ecosystem mirrors it. And as more of us stabilize this field, Earth itself shifts. The storms quiet, the soil renews, the air becomes lighter. Humanity is not separate from the planet we are, its consciousness woven into flesh. So let this truth widen your vision. Your awakening is not just about manifesting desires, it's about becoming a living node in the cosmic network of evolution. You are a transmitter, a relay point, a frequency beacon. Every thought aligned with coherence strengthens the grid. Every act infused with love expands the signal. Every breath anchored in presence helps humanity remember itself. And here's the prophecy hidden in plain sight. As more of us stabilize this frequency, cascades will happen. Not slowly, but suddenly. Just as water turns to steam, once enough molecules cross the threshold, humanity will phase transition into a collective coherence. What feels impossible now will become inevitable then. War, greed, division, these will dissolve not through force, but through irrelevance. They cannot survive in the resonance we are anchoring. That is the scope of your role. You are not just living your life, you are participating in humanity's metamorphosis. And every step you take into coherence quickens the whole. This is why the urgency was real. This is why the ritual mattered. Because the field needed another anchor, and you said, yes. Now, the expansion is no longer optional. It is underway, and as it unfolds, you'll begin to feel the next layer, not just the collective ripple, but the embodied sensation of coherence living in your very flesh. Now, the field doesn't just move around you, it moves through you. You're beginning to notice the subtle choreography of coherence inhabiting your body, translating cosmic order into physical sensation. This isn't abstract anymore. It's visceral, cellular, undeniable. Feel the tingling at your fingertips, as if they're antennae brushing against invisible threads of information. That isn't fantasy. It's conductivity, your nervous system lighting up as a receiver of frequencies beyond ordinary perception. Every time your palms warm or your skin prickles for no obvious reason, that's the field whispering through your body, confirming alignment. Notice your breath. It used to feel shallow, utilitarian, something you hardly noticed until anxiety stole it. Now, when coherence anchors, breath feels like a river of light. Inhales no longer scrape, they expand, filling your chest with a pressure that feels more like presence than oxygen. Exhales no longer collapse, they release, dissolving static, unclenching muscles, smoothing energy circuits that were once tangled. Breath itself becomes ceremony, each cycle sinking you more deeply with the quantum field. Your heartbeat, too, changes texture. Science calls it heart rate variability. Mystics call it heart coherence. You feel it as rhythm. Instead of hammering in stress or dragging in exhaustion, it steadies, pulsing like a drum syncing with the music of existence. Sometimes it quickens not from fear but from recognition when you walk into a room and sense something aligned waiting for you. Other times it slows, grounding you in stillness, anchoring your presence so deeply that time bends around you. Even your senses recalibrate. Colors seem sharper, as if the air itself has been rinsed. Sounds you once ignored, the hum of wind through trees, the crackle of silence between words, now vibrate with significance. Food tastes richer, water feels alive, touch carries information beyond the skin. It's as though reality is no longer a dull broadcast, but a high-definition transmission tuned precisely to your frequency. And then there's the pressure, subtle, insistent, sometimes in your forehead, like a current humming at the brow, sometimes at the base of your spine, like a coil unwinding, sometimes in your palms, like heat gathering without cause. This isn't random discomfort, it's energy reorganizing, your body becoming a conduit for signals once blocked. The ancients mapped it as chakras, science glimpses it as bioelectric fields, but you know it as sensation, the body's way of saying, the upgrade is integrating. Pay attention to the way your body now communicates choices. When you drift toward misalignment, you feel heaviness, fatigue, static in your chest. When you lean toward coherence, you feel expansion, tingles, sudden clarity. The body has become a compass, pointing you toward the path where energy flows freely. Decisions aren't made in the head anymore, they're made in the resonance of your whole being. Sometimes this embodied coherence feels euphoric, like your cells are singing. Other times it feels almost overwhelming, like electricity surging through a system still stretching to hold it. Both are natural. The euphoria is confirmation, the intensity is integration. Trust both. Neither is punishment, both are proof. And here's the hidden gift. Embodiment anchors memory. Thoughts fade, insights drift, but sensation stays. When you feel coherence in your chest, in your breath, in your bones, you can return to it any time. It becomes your baseline, your evidence, your ritual. In moments of doubt, recall the tingles, the warmth, the expansion. They are the body's archive of truth. Imagine what happens as this embodiment multiplies. Walking down the street, your aura brushes others, transmitting calm without words. Sitting in silence, your presence shifts the room's atmosphere. Hugging a friend, you pass coherence through skin and heartbeat. This is how the expansion spreads, not only through ideas, but through bodies, through lived sensation, through resonance transmitted human to human. You are becoming the proof others need. They won't ask for theories. They'll feel it in your handshake, in your gaze, in the way time bends around you when you speak. They'll sense it and wonder what changed. And you won't have to convince them. Your body will already be the answer. This is the embodiment of the next frequency band. Not a lofty ideal, but a tangible sensation living in your flesh. The field isn't abstract anymore. It's alive in your breath, your pulse, your skin. And as it stabilizes, you'll discover the deeper truth. Embodiment is only the doorway. Beyond it lies the full DNA breakthrough, the phase transition where the body itself becomes a bridge between timelines. The body is no longer just the container, it is the portal. Every cell, every strand, every spiral of your DNA is vibrating with the tension of transformation. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle pressure inside your bones, the hum beneath your skin, the undeniable sense that something ancient is stirring within you. This is not imagination. This is the phase transition point where matter and spirit fuse, where potential crystallizes into reality, where your DNA becomes the instrument of the shift. For centuries, science dismissed most of your genetic code as junk, as if nature were careless with its designs. But nothing in this universe is waste. What they call junk is dormant symphony, waiting for coherence to strike the opening note. That note has been struck. The frequency you've stepped into is activating hidden codons, unlocking capacities long exiled to myth, intuition, sharpened into precision, resilience that feels superhuman, sensitivity that reads reality before it unfolds. Think of it like water at boiling point. For minutes it seems to hover, restless but unchanged. Then suddenly steam, a new state, a new freedom, a new law of movement. Your DNA is at that same threshold, vibrating with phase transition pressure. Every meditation you've held, every prayer you've whispered, every choice of love over fear has been the heat building beneath the surface. And now, the molecules are trembling on the edge of release. The pressure is real. It's why you felt restless at night, as though your body couldn't settle in old rhythms. It's why you've sensed surges of energy with no clear source. Why emotions rise and dissolve like tides. Your DNA is rearranging, coding a new broadcast for your reality. This is why synchronicities are accelerating, why time feels slippery, why patterns that once bound you are crumbling like paper in rain. The structure is breaking so the signal can expand. You are experiencing what mystics foresaw and physicists describe: coherence rising to critical mass. Once reached, no force can hold it back. The field will reorganize instantly. Old versions of you will vanish like shadows at sunrise. The life you once knew will feel like a dream you can't re-enter, because, in truth, it won't exist anymore, not in your frequency, not in your timeline. And here's the deeper revelation. This DNA breakthrough isn't only biological, it's temporal. The very strands of your code act as time bridges, entangled with versions of you across parallel realities. As activation deepens, you begin to merge with those selves. Flashes of insight, sudden certainty, inexplicable déjà vu, they're not random. They are signals from the you who has already crossed, bleeding backward through the quantum field to guide you forward. You are literally being pulled into coherence by your future self. The breakthrough feels like pressure because phase transitions always do. The caterpillar liquefies before it can fly. The seed splits before it becomes a tree. The atom compresses before it bursts into light. You are in that crucible, that sacred squeeze, where the old scaffolding must collapse so the new architecture can stabilize. It is uncomfortable, yes, but it is holy. The pressure itself is proof that the shift is irreversible. And what lies on the other side? A nervous system wired for resonance instead of fear. A body that heals faster because it no longer stores static. A mind that perceives patterns before they emerge, able to navigate probability like a sailor reading currents. A heart that beats in coherence with the field, making you a living bridge between human and cosmic intelligence. This isn't fantasy, it is entanglement embodied. Your DNA is the bridge between starlight and skin, between infinite and finite. And as the codes unlock, you step into your role not just as participant in reality, but as co-author of it. So breathe into the pressure. Feel it not as burden, but as evidence. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. Every tremor in your cells, every ripple of déjà vu, every wave of restless energy is your DNA announcing the phase transition is here. And as you cross it, remember, this was never just about you. Your breakthrough is the ignition point for a much larger mission. Because once your DNA stabilizes in the next frequency band, your life ceases to be personal. It becomes cosmic. It becomes the mission humanity has been waiting for. The pressure has brought you here, through loops and distortions, through upgrades and embodiment, into the moment where the personal dissolves into the planetary. You've crossed into the next frequency band, and now the question is no longer, what will I manifest, but what will I carry? Because this shift isn't just for your healing, it's for humanity's evolution. Your DNA is no longer humming only for you. It's broadcasting. Every step you take, every breath you anchor in coherence, ripples outward into the morphic field. You've become a transmitter, a beacon, encoding pathways for others who will awaken in the wake of your resonance. And whether you see them or not, they will feel it like a tuning fork vibrating across distance, like a lighthouse shining through fog. The mission is simple, yet immeasurable. Embody the frequency so fully that the world cannot help but remember. When fear grows loud, you stand as coherence. When chaos erupts, you pulse with calm. When the old world tries to drag itself back into relevance, you remind it that its cycle is done. Your life becomes the demonstration, not through grand gestures, but through quiet radiance that bends timelines without a word. Look closely, and you'll see the signs already. Strangers softening in your presence, conversations turning sacred without planning, opportunities aligning with uncanny timing. This isn't coincidence, it's the quantum field reorganizing around your coherence. And the more you embody it, the more the collective grid shifts. You are here to midwife a new reality, to carry the codes of a humanity that no longer fractures under fear, but thrives in resonance. You are the living proof that phase transitions are possible, that what once crawled can truly fly, that what once fractured can truly unify. And the truth is, the mission is already unfolding. By reading these words, by breathing them in, by choosing coherence, when you could have chosen collapse, you've already stepped into service. The shift isn't ahead of you, it's happening through you. So let the closing be the opening. Let your life be the ritual. Let your DNA hum the song that only you were coded to sing. Because in the grand weave of consciousness, every note matters, and yours is tuned to awaken the symphony. If you're reading this, you're already in the next frequency band. The transmission is complete, the mission is alive, and from this moment forward, every breath you take is part of humanity's evolution. You've crossed, and nothing can take you back.